At the top of the show, I think it's important that we say Happy Veterans Day and acknowledge the service of all of our veterans. You may not know this about me and my brothers, but our Grandpa Murray, who's no longer with us, he flew 32 separate missions during World War II, won a Purple Heart. You see the list of his missions right there. It's why we have our mission to protect, preserve, and defend our democracy here. And it's why our work, your work, is needed more than ever right now. So let's get into it. A lot of people right now are Googling, can I take my vote back? Project 2025. Are mass deportations really going to happen? Things to buy before tariffs, as we told you. Elon Musk was saying we, the people, will be suffering hardship while they, the billionaires and oligarchs, have already doubled and tripled their wealth, especially all of those private prisons like Geo and others who are making tons of money right now at the speculation of mass deportations. Look, we're on the front lines here, not just of the resistance, but on truly fighting back and moving forward. I want to share with you, this video has gone viral. Brett, you did a video about it early in the day. I could probably share with everybody, I would say, thousands of videos that I'm now seeing all over like this, but I think this one is fairly symbolic of the types of videos we're seeing, where individuals who voted basically for Trump and against their family members are now in the find out stage. Here, let's play this video.
Guys, I'm not crying happy tears. I'm not gonna be apologetic for being excited, because if it was the other way around, all of the Kamala supporters would celebrate. I want to say that first. I'm very relieved because I voted what I believe in, and I felt heavy on my heart that it's the right thing. So knowing that it was the decision the American people made, I'm relieved and I'm very happy. Very, very happy, okay? It's the very first day of finding out the election results. All of us are happy. I'm very happy, but I'm not going to continue to post about it, but I'm also not going to be sorry about it. And I always talked about how my family, sorry, I don't want to make this more than once. I always talked about how my family had different beliefs, my grandma and my mom and my sister, and how we always got along. And I wore my grandma's sweater to go vote, and I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to cry, okay? But my heart's broken.
Try not to cry.
Yeah, try it. My grandma just sent me a very sad text. It broke my heart. And my mom has yet to text me back today. My point of making this video is to say that I am very happy, and I expressed how happy I was. And I'm not going to be sorry for that. I'm completely heartbroken that my family is taking it how they are. I never did this to them when Biden won. Never. But I am done with political posts. From here on out, it's back to normal. If you don't like me because of who I voted for and you have to unfollow, go ahead. My own family unsubscribed from my life, so you can too. I promise. It doesn't get worse than that.
It does get worse than that for we, the people, and specifically for marginalized communities. And if you want to talk about privilege, you hear at the end where she goes, okay, back to normal now. Well, it's not going to be back to normal for the Latinos whose job sites are about to be raided when mass deportation exercises take place. And nor is it going to be back to normal for literally tens of millions of Americans who the Trump administration is going to target.
And Ben,
whereas President Biden tried to uplift. Brett, Jordy.
Well, here is the fundamental difference and the fatal flaw to her entire argument there. It's, she works in there, I never did this to my family when Biden won. when you have an election and you have two different sides of an election, and one side results in stripping away the rights of certain people and the other does not, these are not two equal things. And I think that is one of the big things, and one of the things that upsets me so much about this election is that if Vice President Kamala Harris won this election, there's nobody in this country who should be worried that they are under attack. There's nobody in this country who should be worried about their personal freedoms, about their future, about where they stand in this country. But with Donald Trump, there are a whole bunch of people who now have to be extremely worried and have the right to be worried and should be worried about what is going to happen in the future. And so when you see those tears, you know, imagine how the folks on the receiving end of Donald Trump's policies feel right now in the wake of this election, with the gravity of what we see. And we're already starting to see, by the way, you know, as Trump assembles his cabinet and the people who are going to surround him, who are going to be running the show here, we are seeing a reason why everybody's fears were completely warranted as each day passes here. So it's just such a false dichotomy that she is presenting right there. Jordy, how are you doing? What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, like you look at that and it's absurd, right? It's just totally shameless what that person's saying up there on screen. It's like, yo, check your privilege at the door. I'm just gonna go back to posting my regular stuff. Sorry if you're mad about who I voted for. It's like, hey, to Ben's point exactly, there are marginalized communities out there right now that can't go to, you know, day as usual, who now have to live with the consequences of the person that's going to be in charge. Utterly despicable, and just a total lack of self-awareness.
Speaking about a lack of self-awareness, what's the term that the youngsters use these days? Delulu, like delusional. There are still people out there, though, who are within the communities that are being targeted. Why is this? That make me just sound extra dorky?
I love when you connect with the youngsters. Delulu.
Hello,
you
youngsters.
didn't sound a day over 80 there. Yeah. You know how the youngsters are saying this new phrase they're saying. They say, the kids say, Delulu. Delulu. You know what? Someone else who's Delulu.
Well, look, it means delusional. And I mean, look, when I still see the Latino voter,
the definition.
When I see the Latino voters for Trump still, like I saw this interview today on CNN where this Latino voter for Trump, he's wearing all of his Trump gear. And he's like, look, Trump's not going to go after people who are family oriented. There's an exemption. If you're family oriented, then your abuela and abuelo and tia, they are all good because they're family oriented. Here, play this clip.
If they let in hundreds or thousands of people who already have criminal records, if deporting them creates a mass deportation, I'm all for it.
But what if rounded up in all of that are people who work on a farm, they're doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do? Does that worry you?
That wouldn't be fair. Of course, you know, they need to make sure that they don't throw away, they don't kick out, they don't deport people that are family oriented.
Their literal plan is to deport anybody who is here. Number one, who doesn't have papers. Number two, who may have some temporary legal status or some legal status, but they don't view as citizens. And then three, they're going to denaturalize people who are already citizens, but who became citizens by way of birth in the United States. And that's one of their procedures that they want to go through. Just take a look at what Charlie Kirk posted moments ago. He says Tom Homan. So let's be clear, just to rewind briefly. So today, Donald Trump appointed. I think Donald Trump's not going to do nomination processes. And we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But he declared that Tom Homan is his border czar. Tom Homan previously ran ICE. Tom Homan was the person who came up with the family separation policies. And over the past 3.5 years, Tom Homan was the person who talked about bloody mass deportation exercises. And he's used words to the effect, if you saw what we did back with the family separations in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, you're not even going to believe, direct quote, the shit we're going to do if Trump gets back in power. So this is one of the first people Donald Trump picked, Tom Homan. And already today, Tom Homan's talking about going into workplaces and rounding up people in their places of work. And let's take a look at what Charlie Kirk's saying. By the way, family people too, people who are here for 30 years.
Yeah,
people who are here
let us be clear. There's no family man exemption to this policy. Okay, there ain't no exemption. I'm not sure where that guy who's wearing. Did you see? He's wearing, for those who are listening, he's wearing a hat that has Donald Trump's hair attached to the top of it. So he is like full on Trump fanboy, saying that he's not concerned that his relatives are going to be deported because they're good family people, and he's not going to deport good family people. Well, that's certainly not what the people who that's not what Trump says. That's not what the people who are surrounding Trump are saying. And I think one of the clearest, instances or one of the clearest examples of how far Trump and his acolytes are willing to go now that they're going to have power is that infamous Stephen Miller post that we have seen recently, where he said he was going to, quote, turbocharge denaturalization in 2025. Turbocharge it. Denaturalization is the process of stripping away the citizenship from people who have acquired citizenship in this country. So even if you're like, oh, I'm legal, it's not going to affect me. I'm here legally. I'm naturalized. I'm good. No, you're not good. And Donald Trump on the campaign trail has already said time and time and time again that he is willing to go to groups that he doesn't like, to people he doesn't like, and strip away their citizenship. He has called those Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, who are there legally, he has called them illegal. This is what he has done throughout the country. People who are here legally, they want to do these bloody mass deportations, kick them out, or throw them in these private prisons. Ben, what did Charlie Kirk have to say?
Charlie Kirk says Tom Homan announces he will begin workplace immigration raids. Let's just be clear what that means, though. That means exactly the questions that were asked to that Latino Trump voter, right? You're in the farm, you're in the factory, you're on a construction site, right? You are contributing to the economy. You are working your ass off in jobs that Americans are not doing for far less money than Americans would do it at as well, or Americans not do them at all. So you can support your family. Then ICE or the military or the National Guard rolls up on you at your work site while you're building things, building infrastructure projects, bridges, while you're, picking crops that we all rely on for both consumption here and for exporting. You're contributing to the economy. Work, right? Look at it. Workplace immigration, workplace. And we're ripping people out, throwing them into cages, and then throwing them into countries that they may not even live in, right? I mean, one of the things that Donald Trump says he was going to throw the Haitians back to Venezuela, like to just totally different countries. Let's keep reading, though, what Charlie Kirk is saying. He goes, if you are illegal, get out of our country now. It will save us time and energy and also spare you the humiliation. The days of gaming America's immigration system with impunity are over. Get out. It's also notable that he uses the word humiliation. Like as part of this, they're going to denigrate human beings, right? Like treat human beings the way we saw photographs of American military in Abu Ghraib, like Iraq. Like we're not just going to deport you, the Trump saying, we're going to humiliate you. And that's a message to that Latino Trump supporter. It's like basically a message to you. Mm-hmm. So let's be very clear. Okay. Nobody on this podcast and nobody who I know supports criminals or terrorists being here illegally. Number one, undisputed fact. No one's rooting for, let's bring in those criminals. Let's bring in the cartels. No, they should be removed right away. They're criminals. They should be out. The full force of law, get them out. Get terrorists out, get cartels out, get criminals out. Undisputed fact number two, there's actually been less border crossings right now under Biden than under the Trump administration. You know when all of a sudden immigration basically fell to like nothing under Trump? The same time gas fell to nothing. You know when that was? During COVID, when there was a mass pandemic, a mass casualty event where Donald Trump mishandled it. So tens of thousands of people were literally dying in ventilators every day because no one knew what the hell to do while they had Trump lockdown. So actually the situation, it was better right now. And 3, let me give you an undisputed fact. Let me give you the economic argument here, because, I know that like no one wants to talk about this because it's been so tainted, but let's be clear. Immigrants, migrants play a major part in our economy, whether you like that or not, okay? They contribute. When you do workplace raids, guess what? That means they are working at places, and you're going to raid the work, remove the workers from what? The farms? How are the farmers going to get by when they're relying on this labor? The factories, how are they going to get by without the labor? How is anyone going to get by? And what do you think that's going to do to the price of goods? First off, what is it going to cost you for this mass deportation event? Quite literally tens of billions of dollars every day. So bye-bye to your health care, right? So that the government can spend its money sending the military to do workplace raids rather than help you get an education, help you get health care, lower your prescription drug prices, function like a government, do things like bring Wi-Fi, build infrastructure. No, government resources, conducting workplace raids, removing the labor, meaning that the price of goods is going to go up dramatically. Remember those $8 trillion deficit projections that we were telling you about Donald Trump? That's what it was last time under Trump. Under the best case scenario, it was $8 trillion being added to the debt. Under, I think, the accurate scenarios, if you do this, I think it'll be like $25 to $30 trillion in debt. And you go, well, Ben, at the highest end, they said 12 to 15, not 8. Really? You don't think Donald Trump's going to increase the debt like he did in every other business that he's ever done and run it up like crazy, and these Republicans are going to do that? Let me show you another data point of Tom Homan. I want you to watch the smugness. Like, this is truly an evil person, right? Like, so to that Latino voter right there wearing the Trump hair and the stupid Trump hat, going, they're not coming after me. Charlie Kirk, who's one of Trump's inner circle, yeah, he's saying he's coming after. What do you need to happen? I mean, do you think that Latino voter for Trump, he's going to be deported, ripped apart from his family? You think he's going to be so brainwashed and that he'll be going back there? But it didn't happen to me. I'm good. I'm good. Let me just show you this AOC clip right here. We played it in other videos. Here she is when she was questioning Tom Homan. He's one of the authors of Project 2025. And this was at a congressional hearing where Tom Homan, again, like his cagey way, he was like trying to avoid saying that he was for family separation, even though it was his policy. And then like he admits it in a smug way. Here, watch this.
This memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we're at a situation right now, and it's tough. And one of the things that makes it extremely tough is that all of us also have to endure all the consequences of this election, of whatever happens. Unfortunately, there's part of me that thinks that it's the only way for some of these folks who voted for Trump to realize kind of what they've done. And I don't say that facetiously, and I don't say that with glee by any means. But I think, people have short memories. They voted for Trump the first time in 2016 under similar circumstances, similar reasonings. What's the worst that could happen? This guy's not part of the establishment. He's a businessman. Look, he's silly. He's on TV. He's not going to come after me. And then what happened? We had demonstrations in the street all the time. Donald Trump would always go to his worst instincts. People were harmed, and it all culminated with the COVID crisis, with the COVID pandemic that Trump completely ignored, mismanaged, which is honestly me being kind by calling that mismanaged,
Right.
Leading to more than 1 million people dying. And those are the consequences of, putting somebody so just willfully unprepared and unfit for the job, and with all these dangerous ideas in the office. And unfortunately, it may take a little bit of pain for some of these people to realize, oh crap, I messed up. Oh yeah, that's why I didn't like him. That's why I made sure to vote against him in 2020. But here we are again, where people are, to use Ben's words, delulu. And they are thinking that somehow this time will be different. It's a new tone. He's a changed guy. I assure you, it's not a new tone. It's not a changed guy. Now the guardrails are off, and he's going to continue to bring in the most insane people to be around him at all times. And Tom Homan is an example of that. Seeing Stephen Miller was one of his first appointments, if you will, was an example of that. These are like the world's worst people who are openly saying that they want to do the world's worst things, who are being put in positions of power without guardrails, with a Republican Party who controls all the other levers of the government, saying that they also want to do everything they can to please Donald Trump imaginable. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, it doesn't take a psychic, I'll tell you that.
And then thinking back, I mean, just listening to that Latino man talking about why he decided to vote for Trump, and how he could just be so blind to the fact that they're not going to come for him, right? Like, where else in history have we heard, first they came for this group, I didn't speak out, then they came for this group, I didn't speak out. It's very much on display in real time in that clip. Part of me genuinely actually feels bad that you could be so naive and tricked into believing that they're not going to target you, where clear as day, we've seen, it's a community that is definitely under attack by this administration, no matter the status of the person at this point.
Jordy, the only difference, though, is in that old, very, dark but famous expression of first they came for this group and I wasn't a part of this group, so I didn't do anything. Then they came for that group and I wasn't a part of that group. Then they came for this group, I wasn't a part. And then they came for me. In this example, Donald Trump and his inner circle have said, we are coming for you. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. And then their response is, no, they're not coming for me. And like, here's the videotape of them saying that they're actually coming for you. Yeah, but I'm family. I'm a family man, so they're not coming for you. He's saying you, other than literally saying your name, he's literally describing you, and you're wearing a stupid Trump hat with a fake Trump wig. What is going on in that mind of yours? And look, whether it's because of COVID, social media, people's inability to interact in society anymore, whether you want to call it like brain worms or fried mush brains, what is going on in there? Because it literally feels so obvious, and yet you try to have these conversations with people, and it's like kind of speaking with like humans who are like almost look like they're taken over and programmed with some like robotic AI that's like, hello, could you please let me is anything working in there? And I'm not trying to be like rude or demeaning, but like when they say we're coming for your group, get out, you're going to be humiliated by us, we're coming for your family, and you're like, they're not coming for me. It's an odd, and by the way, it's not unique to that Latino male there. You can go through various different groups and then say, but you realize that means they're taking your land. That means they're going to ban you. That means they're going to control your body. That means you're going to have student loans increasing. That means inflation's actually going to go up based on those policies. That means that, literally you go through all these people and they're like, yeah, but not me. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about. I also want to talk about, though, when we get back from the break, I got to talk about where's the Democratic leadership right now? Seriously, where? This is not the MeidasTouch Network's not the pity party network. We're the Get Stuff Done network. And don't get me wrong, I see some governors. I see Josh Shapiro. I see Pritzker. I see Gavin Newsom and some other. I see some signs of life, some signs of leadership. But what in the world are you doing right now? Step up, man up, person up, whatever up, get up. And do something about it. What are you doing right now? What's the silence? It's pissing me off. We'll be right back from our first quick break. We got a lot to talk about.
All right, let's talk about NAD+. It's in every living cell in your body, and it helps keep you young by repairing damage, detoxifying, and giving you energy. But between age 20 and 50, your NAD+ levels are cut in half. No wonder we start feeling older, more tired, and less vibrant. But here's the good news. Qualia NAD+ makes it easy to boost your NAD+ levels by 74%. It's a simple supplement that's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, and packed with ingredients to help you feel at your peak longer into life. Qualia NAD+ contains the most powerful NAD+ precursors like niacin, niacinamide, and Niagen. These ingredients are clinically tested to boost your NAD+ levels, and Qualia NAD+ has many other holistic ingredients that support all major aspects of NAD+ production in your body. Plus, it's doctor formulated, so you know it's the real deal. I've been using Qualia NAD+ since they sent it to me, and the difference is huge. I actually feel energized, awake, and ready to take on the day. I had no idea how much my low NAD+ was dragging me down. To boost your NAD+ levels by up to 74%, go to qualialife.com/Jordy for up to 50% off and use code Jordy at checkout. That's JORDY at checkout for an additional 15% off. That's qualialife.com/Jordy, JORDI, for 15% off your purchase. Thanks to Qualia for sponsoring today's episode.
I've been trying to lose some weight lately and get a little healthier, and I'll tell you what's been a key for me. It's called Prolon, and a lot of our viewers say it's changed their life. So forget everything you know about fasting. I want to tell you about Prolon by L-Nutra. It's the only patented fasting mimicking diet that combines the benefits of prolonged fasting with science-backed nutrition plans, so you can hit your health and weight loss goals without actually having to give up all the food. So introducing Prolon, it's a revolutionary plant-based program. It nourishes the body while making cells believe they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at the University of Southern California Longevity Institute. By the way, I teach at USC Law. It's backed by leading U.S. medical centers. Prolon helps promote healthy blood sugar, supports cardiovascular health, and it reduces abdominal fat. But Prolon isn't a diet. Prolon is a science based on Nobel Prize winning discoveries in medicine. It all starts with Prolon's 5-day program. Snacks, soups, and beverages, they're all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. Unlike anything you've ever experienced. I did the 5-day program. I feel so much better, feel more energy. And the thing is, it's not a diet, it's a science. And it was convenient. They sent me everything I needed all in one box. I followed the directions. It was great. No wonder thousands of doctors are now recommending Prolon to support healthy blood sugar and cardiovascular health. So right now, Prolon is offering the MeidasTouch Podcast listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. So go to prolonlife.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. That's PROLONLIFE.com/Meidas. prolonlife.com/Meidas for this special offer. The Prolon, that's prolonlife.com/Meidas. Check it out.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ollie. Clean, fresh nutrition your dog needs in 5 flavors. They'll absolutely flip over. Feeding your dog real whole foods with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. A whole fresh food diet has been proven to extend your dog's life by 2.5 years. Who wouldn't want more time with their best friend? Ollie's recipes have no harmful fillers fillers, no preservatives, and are made in U.S. kitchens with ingredients sourced from trusted growers and producers around the world. And because Ollie's meals are gently cooked, they don't need preservatives. It's fresh, real food. With protein-first recipes like fresh beef with sweet potatoes, fresh turkey with blueberries, and fresh lamb with cranberries, Ollie might just have your dog eating better than you. Here's how it works. Take a 30-second quiz about your dog on Ollie's website, and they'll create a customized meal plan based on your dog's specific needs. Ollie then sends your dog starter box with 2 weeks worth of meals, plus a guide on how to transition them over. You could even choose from 3 meal plans to fit your dog's diet. And can I be real with you for a second? My dog Mochi is the best. She's the sweetest, most playful, loving Shih Tzu in the world. She's also one of the most stubborn eaters in the world. And if the food I give her isn't up to her standards, she lets me know. So anytime I introduce something new to her, it's the ultimate test. Since I've been giving her Ollie, she's been licking the bowl clean. I've been giving her the chicken dish with carrots and the lamb with cranberries, and she absolutely loves it. And right now, Ollie is offering an amazing deal, 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe. Just head to Ollie.com, tell them about your dog, and use the code Meidas to get 60% off your first box. That's OLLIE.com, promo code Meidas, MEIDAS. They even offer a clean bowl guarantee, so if you're not satisfied, you get your money back.
Let's go. Links in description for both the YouTube and the audio. Use the codes, use the links. Shout out to our pro-democracy sponsors riding with us. You know, they really help support this network. So definitely show them some love. And shout out to you, the Meidas Mighty. You know, look, my brothers and I might not be a, total shocker. We're big data guys, big analytic guys. And to see this community continue to double down in pro-democracy and really meet the moment with, the passion and energy that, we've kind of seen from you guys forever has been amazing. And just that engagement with this community is truly undefeated. And we're so grateful for you guys meeting this moment alongside us. Just shout out to the Meidas Mighty. I love this community so much.
Let me make an observation, though, because when Donald Trump was found liable for sexual assault, indicted multiple times, criminally convicted on 34 separate felony counts, the MAGA Republicans not only stuck with him every step of the way, but had the most relentless propaganda campaign filled with lie after lie after lie. It didn't matter to them. On the other hand, with President Biden, somebody who actually did a bunch of incredible things, someone who you don't have to propagandize for. You literally just have to tell the story, right? I mean, President Biden's leadership was able, competent, capable. I remember that Time magazine cover of the disaster President Biden inherited. We all knew he was going to inherit an absolute disaster. The stock market crashed. We were basically in a depression, a mass casualty event. The economy was crap. Trump added $8 trillion in debt. I mean, literally every metric, every single one was terrible. Then Donald Trump refused to do a peaceful transition of power, led an insurrection, refused to coordinate and even tell President Biden what the deals were, what the resources were, refused utterly. But there we were, and here we are. And just take a look at these stats of Joe Biden's economy, for example, with unemployment at all-time lows, jobs created 16 million, inflation now very normal, when it was caused by post-COVID and COVID behavior as a result of Donald Trump's mishandling. When you add $8 trillion in debt, when you don't do things like the CHIPS Act or the Infrastructure Act, and you don't shore up your supply lines, right? And you recklessly print money with no accountability, as Donald Trump did, that causes inflation. And it's not like all of a sudden inflation starts. The policies have to take time to kick in. Right? Like we were still under the regime of Donald Trump's billionaire tax cuts that he couldn't pay for or refused to pay for when Biden was in office. And Biden has to, basically move this massive sinking ship in another direction, did it ably. And look, the GDP, 3% growth, average pay, wages are up, manufacturing boom, stock market at all-time highs, oil production at oil highs. America was energy independent. So I mean, for me, whereas the MAGAs were propagandizing the most awful human being and doing the most awful things every day, no matter what it was, the fact that Democrats cannibalize themselves and continue at this moment to do the blame game. Every day there's a leak. It's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. It's your fault. It's this person's fault. But I proposed this, but I said that, versus you gotta show leadership during moments like this. A lot of people wanted to write op-eds and they were doing touchdown dances when they got Biden to leave. And a lot of people out there were trying to claim their brilliance. But now is when leadership is needed, not the blame game. And look, we're going to use our platform to do everything we can do here. That's bring attention to issues. We've got a great team of lawyers who can also outline legal strategies. You know, we can try to warn people as best as we can if there are going to be raids in specific areas. You know, we could continue to motivate this massive community to get out accurate information and to push back against encroaching fascism. And that's what we pledge to do. But also, we have to have leadership within the party that is standing up and actually standing for and standing behind the record. Look, lots of people's lives are complicated. People are working lots of jobs and people have lots of issues in their lives. So you can't just expect that you can do infrastructure, you can do inflation reduction, you can do the CHIPS Act, you can do the PACT Act, you can do all of these things, and people automatically understand and get it. I mean, when you look at some of this exit poll data and information, it's shocking in ways that if you go fully down that rabbit hole at how shocking it is, it's beneath depressing sometimes how people ultimately make snap decisions. But what's clear is you have to be relentless in your messaging. But what was so obvious for Democrats is that your messaging met the moment, because one of the issues that we saw here was the economy, right? That's what was over and over again. What President Biden was so brilliant about was recognizing the economy. That's why he did infrastructure. That's why he did inflation reduction, right? That's why he did bottom up, middle out. That's why he was on the picket lines. So why is it then that people, going back to a theme we said, are voting against their interests? Because at some point, one of the main lessons, and this isn't the blame game show, you have to be a team player and support the messaging. Look, President Biden would maybe, not like to admit this, but in President Biden's age, he's not the same debater he once was. You go back and look at President Biden's speeches from the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. He was a great orator. He was one of the best debaters. But guess what? In his 80s, I hope in my 80s I could be half the debater that President Biden was, but his skill set wasn't that. His skill set was using the age and using the wisdom in a way to build and cultivate and not destroy. So the one main lesson that I urge our party, but I urge just anybody who cares about our country, you have to help with the messaging. Not to lie, not to propagandize, but to literally give the facts, because the facts were actually great. Not whine and complain about somebody's age or be ageist.
And Ben, let me add this if I can. You have to know where to direct people's anger, right? Because people are naturally going to be angry about certain things, because things are never going to be perfect ever. Even in the best economy, the best ever, things aren't going to be perfect. But Chris Hayes said something on Blue Sky today. By the way, we're on Blue Sky. If anybody else is on Blue Sky, give us a follow. MeidasTouch is on there. I am on there at Be Myself. Jordy, you're on there, right? Ben, I think he still needed an account. Right? People are asking for you. There's a whole demand for Ben on Blue Sky. But Chris Hayes said the following. He wrote, "Here's one of my main takeaways. The point of governing is to make people's lives better, but the point of politics, especially campaigns, is to give people a story about who to blame for things sucking. It's a real mistake to confuse one for the other, as I have often done." And I totally see what Hayes is saying there, because what Trump was able to do effectively, I think, and what these were able to do effectively is they were able to play to people's grievances about issues that gone wrong. Quite frankly, issues that Donald Trump caused. Nearly all of these issues that happened. And some of them were global phenomenons like inflation that impacted every single country in the world. But Democrats had a great story to tell. Out of every country in the world, you know who handled this crisis the best? Quite literally the best. Number one in the world, USA. The United States of America and the Biden-Harris administration. But I think sometimes in this quest to defend the policies, defend the CHIPS Act, defend the Infrastructure Act, I think sometimes the message can get muddied because people get a little bit too nuanced in their language. And so on the one hand, you have Democrats saying things could be getting better, but actually we've done a lot and look at these plans. But yeah, and while that may be technically correct, when that's your message and the other side is just going lower taxes, build the wall, just easy phrases that people could latch onto. We're going to stick it to China. And who do you think is going to basically affect the median voter the most, who is looking for that simple message to resonate with? Are they going to go to the nuanced message that's technically accurate, or are they going to go to this, very direct kind of, straight to the point message, even if it's total BS? And unfortunately, we saw people gravitate towards that message. I think it's just a lesson going forward that, that Democrats and everybody needs to take. But while President Biden was accomplishing all these things, I think, we needed a whole lot of other folks, instead of yelling about President Biden's age, to be spiking the football in that way every single day, going out there saying, you want lower taxes? Guess what? We're giving you lower taxes. You want, the wealthy to pay more? Guess what? President Biden is making the wealthy pay more. You wanted student loans? Guess what? We did it. You know who's making your life worse? Put the blame on the right people. You know who is making your life worse? You know who wants to take away your student loans? The Republicans, Donald Trump. They want to take it away from you, and just be that simple with it every step of the way. Instead, you get this infighting, you get these muddied messages, and it just drives me crazy, because then you look at these exit polls and you look at people like that individual we showed in the video earlier, and the things they say, you're just like, I can't even wrap my head around. But fundamentally, I think we've been in this cycle now for maybe a couple decades at this point of people really kind of raging against whatever is considered the establishment. And you could go back to Barack Obama, right? I mean, that was a change election. Obviously, that was an election against the establishment. President Obama, he was the nominee. He won. He was an 8-year, 2-term president. Donald Trump, very different figure, but he was viewed as anti-establishment. He came to power. I think with President Biden, I think folks actually wanted a return and a strengthening of our institutions after Donald Trump. And they realized that was a big mistake. We need to go back to these American values. We need to be protected. They go back to President Biden. Then 4 years go away and people are going, I want to change again. I want to change. And then they had the one candidate who was fighting for horrific change, but change nonetheless to blow up the entire system that they perceived as going against them in certain ways, even though, once again, best in the world at managing a post-pandemic time. But they picked the candidate who said, screw these institutions. We want to blow it all up. We want to change. And I think there's a way, though, that when the Democrats figure out how to recalibrate here, and people who are pro-democracy want to recalibrate here, that you could position yourself as a candidate of change, as an exciting candidate, as somebody who speaks to people's fears, someone who speaks to people's grievances, but does it in a way that sticks to the values, sticks to protecting these communities, sticks to protecting the unions, the middle class, healthcare, and all these things. I mean, it's very possible. And also, one of my other issues with kind of all these postmortems that people do on these elections is that, first off, there's not like one person in power who could be like, okay, and so it is. Now we're going to apply all these things that everyone says. Also, everybody's postmortems just miraculously, coincidentally, always align with their priors, always align. If you're the person who thought that, Gaza was going to decide this election, your reasoning for why Kamala lost was because she was too friendly to Israel. If you're on the opposite side, your reasoning is the opposite. If you think one way, you think she wasn't helpful enough to the middle class. If you are coming from another side, she was too much about unions in the middle class. It's like everyone somehow finds a way to have this confirmation bias of their own ideas by looking at the election. And so a lot of that simply is not helpful for me. But what I want to look for right now is just, where are these leaders? Are they going to step up? What the heck is going on with the silence? Like, I am just amazed that we haven't seen like a forceful speech from any real Democratic leader. We saw President Biden speak at Arlington today. I thought that was great. It was nice to see him and him to speak up for our values. But where is the next leader of the party? Where is he or she coming from? He or she could speak out at any time right now, and we are waiting. The people are waiting, and the people want a positive message to look forward, a message of hope, yes, a message of joy, yes, and a message of change, and a message of how are we going to fix all of this? Like, where are they? Where are they?
I think that's a great point. Where are they? Why aren't they speaking up right now? You know, again, I am grateful for our platform here on the MeidasTouch Network. I am glad that we're still a top 3 YouTube channel in the United States of America. I'm glad that we have this voice, and I hope we could be a calming, reassuring, and productive voice. But, you know, and there are other independent media hosts as well. But there's got to be leadership institutionally within the party of somebody who's stepping up and saying, here's the direction, here's where we're going, here's why we're going there. I haven't seen that right now. It's disappointing. And we'll talk about that and more, because on the other hand, you've got Vladimir Putin putting Donald Trump through humiliation rituals. I'll tease the next segment, although perhaps that's not the best way to phrase what I'm going to do in the next segment, because you've got Russia's state TV, which is basically directed by Vladimir Putin, posting nude photos of Melania, I think to basically alpha Donald Trump and show him, you know, who's your daddy, if you will. We'll talk about that and more, but let's take our last quick ad break of the show.
Do you make coffee at home? Well, it only takes 1 minute to transform your experience forever, thanks to our friends at Trade. With Trade, you'll discover that the secret to making amazing coffee is to, well, start with amazing coffee. Perfectly matched to your taste, roasted to order, and delivered directly from America's top independent roasters. And you know, as the resident coffee geek here at Meidas, I would not just recommend any coffee service. No matter how you brew or what equipment you prefer, getting coffee from Trade is the easiest way to instantly improve your at-home coffee experience. Trade partners with top independent roasters from small towns across the USA, places you'd love to visit, and they handpick the best coffees for you to enjoy, delivered fresh to your door on your schedule. I've been trying a few roasts from Trade, and each one has been incredibly fresh and full of flavor. I love that first moment when you open the bag. The aroma is incredible. My mornings feel like a real coffee shop experience right now, but honestly way better, and I don't have to leave my house and spend a lot of money. My wife and I always brew the latest beans we get from Trade and have a little coffee date each morning. It's honestly the highlight of our day, and Trade just sent us this Good Vibes coffee from a roaster called Greater Goods Coffee in Austin. It was awesome. Don't settle for okay coffee. Head to drinktrade.com/Meidas to receive your first bag free. That's drinktrade.com/MEIDAS to get your first bag free with any new subscription.
PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. That's huge. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Think Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards next week? Lamar Jackson passed for more than 1.5 touchdowns? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the football board and selecting Jamar Chase for more than 79.5 receiving yards and Patrick Mahomes for more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Let's see how I do. Download the app today and use code Midas to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Just download the app today and use code Midas to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
The Midas Mighty community are at the heart of this network and this movement. It's why it's so important that we all look after our heart health. Heart health matters. It's important to me. I have Super Beat heart chews every single day, and you should too. It's delicious. It gives me so much energy, and I have the peace of mind that I am doing right by my own body. Let me tell you about this, because paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in Super Beets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle. And when I have my Super Beets heart chews, it is delicious. I look forward every day to having those Super Beets heart chews, and I look forward to that energy burst that I get as well. Cardiovascular health matters because it connects your heart to every part of your body. So the #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended beet brand for cardiovascular health support is Super Beets heart chews. Add on to that, it tastes great. So power the moments your heart beats with Super Beets heart chews. Get 15% off, even more on bundles using the code Midas at getsuperbeets.com. That's, make sure you spell it right. That's get, G-E-T, super, S-U-P-E-R, B-E-E-T-S.com and use the code Midas. That's getsuperbeets.com and use the code Midas. You are going to love Super Beets heart chews.
Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both YouTube and audio. Use the links, use the codes. Guys, I crushed that Jamar Chase pick, just so you know. I mean, he went off in the game that I did that for. So shout out Jamar Chase, shout out Prize Pick, shout out Human, shout out all the sponsors. Trade.
Proud of you. Proud of you.
Yeah, those pro-democracy sponsors help make this show possible. And so I know sometimes you may be thinking, hey, there's a lot of ads. I mean, look, the bottom line is that Fox is funded by about $14.92 billion every single year, which, let's just say, can I give a trade secret here? That's about $14.92 billion more than we're funded with right here. So we have to be scrappy, and we like these pro-democracy sponsors. They help fund the show. They help fund the program and this network. So really, honestly, shout out to them. And by the way, there was a little Easter egg in that last ad right there. You heard my baby daughter Jimena right there. And frankly, it's why I do this every day. It's why I wake up so motivated. It's for the future generations. It's for Jimena. It's for all the Jimenas out there. And look, it's disappointing that Jimena has to grow up at least the next 4 years in a Trump America. But I want her to know that her dad did everything he could every single day, along with her uncles and this incredible community of aunts and uncles, because you're all family and aunts and uncles to her, to do whatever we can to preserve, protect, and defend our democracy. This is not going to be easy, but this is a challenge that we've built infrastructure for, and we are ready to go. You know, it's interesting. Vivek Ramaswamy, before we started, posted the following: shut it down. And frankly, that's kind of the MAGA attitude about anything. Like, I don't fully know what he's even talking about here. If it's shut down the Department of Education, because that's one of the things they say. Is it shut down the government because they want to not fund the government until Trump takes over and just shut it down? They always want to just shut down and tear down the government. Are they talking about just shut down the border, which sounds very simple, but when you are involved in trade agreements, quite literally hundreds of billions of dollars in commerce takes place across borders every single day. So if you just shut it down, well, then how are you going to get some of the goods that, let's say, are made in Tijuana into America? Or how are you going to get some of the American products into Mexico? How's that trade go? How's that trade just going to happen? And how are other goods from South America that go through trade routes in Mexico going to get in here? So it's a very simple solution. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. And Brett, to your point, he knows just you simply message, shut it down, shut it, burn it down, and that has a appeal to people. Yep. But shutting down the Department of Education, how many children and students is that going to devastate? Shutting it down, the government, people's Social Security, people's health care, the Affordable Care Act, shut it down. What is that going to mean? I mean, the reality is that there has to be, and this is where President Biden was smart, just couldn't message it the right, struggled to message it honestly because of his age, not because he was on target about what to do and how to do this. But, ultimately you need institutions in order to function. I don't want America to be the Mar-a-Lago of chaos and everybody's like that's the Trump world. That's what America voted for. There is an importance of some institutions that function so that there could be orderly behavior of government and governance. That is important. But at the same time, we have to recognize the types of people who want the chaos, because in the ashes that they leave, they're going to be the ones kind of picking your pockets. By the way, we talked about Tom Homan, and at the beginning of the show, I just want to read you one other quote. When Tom Homan was asked recently, why should children be forced to leave the country if they were born and raised in the United States and undergo the denaturalization process? And he says, because their parents entered illegally, had a child knowing he was in the country illegally, so he created the crisis. So the American citizen now has to be denaturalized because they were born there. It is their fault. That is the logic or illogic that they are using. Let's show that Biden clip today, because then I want to pivot to what Putin is doing to Donald Trump and showing his dominance. President Biden, who's always stood up to Vladimir Putin and built NATO stronger than ever. Here's what he had to say in his last speech at Arlington Cemetery on Veterans Day. Let's play this clip.
This is the last time I will stand here at Arlington as Commander-in-Chief. It's been the greatest honor of my life to lead you, to serve you, to care for you, to defend you, just as you defended us, generation after generation after generation.
Let's press pause. Don't press pause, but let's mark this section of the show, because it is my suspicion that in about 6 months or so, perhaps less, maybe 3 months, there's going to be a big movement of, can we bring that guy back? Where's Joe? Can we bring Joe back? And we're not going to be able to do that. The stability, the no drama, all of that we had, as well as economic growth, America chose chaos. America chose hardship. America chose, not all of America, but a significant portion of America voted against their interests. I mean, heck, I was looking yesterday, Brett and Jordy and Midas Mighty. I was looking at the Teamsters social media account, and they were talking about some temporary collective bargaining deal they had. I think it was with like Home Depot. It's a temporary negotiation, which is set to expire, in early 2025. And they viewed that as like a win. And I was also looking at Sean O'Brien, who heads the Teamsters, his account, because, he spoke at the RNC. He took that photo with Donald Trump where they were wearing their red ties, giving the thumbs up in Mar-a-Lago together. So I was like, where is Sean O'Brien's congratulations to Trump? He was congratulating other people. Where was his congratulations to Trump, who he helped out? And then I saw all these Teamsters posts about, collective bargaining rights and the extensions of certain contracts with management, various locals that are picketing. And I'm thinking to myself, look, a lot of Teamsters stood up. There was a lot of the locals that endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, but, a lot of those Teamsters, a lot of union members, I'm not suggesting that it was all union members, but if you're in unions, you know the people who I'm talking about, literally voted for Donald Trump against their unions. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't believe in the PRO Act. Donald Trump is against the very essence of what a union does, collectively bargain. Donald Trump's about to appoint people to the National Labor Relations Board, which is the main board that allows grievances against management under collectively bargained for contracts. The National Labor Relations Board is going to be pro-management, so when you have an issue, you are not going to be able to get any relief, and your strikes are going to be declared unlawful, and you're not going to be able to picket. Your union is literally powerless in a Trump administration, and you're union people, and you voted for Trump. I mean, it is a wild concept to me, and that's just kind of one example where, remember, Brett, we had that guy on who was the general counsel of one of the big labor unions, 2 years in, and he walked us through. He was like, Trump lied to the Teamsters in 2016. Then he put the most anti-worker group in the NLRB, and here's how he screwed us. Biden walked on the picket lines with us. He literally saved our pensions. Saved your pensions. But that wasn't good enough. Like, your pensions, your life, your family, putting food on the table. Biden stood up for you. Trump's taking that food away. So we'll mark this episode where we start hearing the calls from the people when the leopard actually ate their face, and they go, "Oh, how did that happen?" And again, just seeing, one of the things I see from all of these MAGA influencers too is they post all of the data that existed when Biden was in office, and now look what Trump did. Look, this is at a record high. Look, Hamas is saying they're going to do this now. I'm like, it's the same thing that Hamas said they were going to be doing 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 5 months ago. So that's what they were saying back then. There's literally no difference. And now this person's doing that. And now we're energy independent. No, all of these things existed before. Trump didn't do any of it at all. But Brett, to your point, it's like, okay, well, let's see actually what happens when Trump does 2,000% tariff. Let's see what happens when he does mass deportation. Let's see what happens when he does tax cuts for billionaires. Let's see what happens when he shuts down the Department of Education. Let's see what happens when he takes away your health care and shuts down Social Security. Then we can judge. But you know what's going to happen? And this is why Democrats wake the heck up, because this happens every time. That stuff starts to kick in year 2, year 3, right? Everybody gets pissed. And they're like, oh, we got to vote them out. The next Obama or whoever comes in, right? And then what do the Republicans do? Look, it's your fault. You screwed us. And it's all of their freaking policies. And so what you have to do right now, and this is what's pissing me off about their silence, frankly, it's that you can't just show up for an election. You can't just show up 90 days before, hey, I'm a celebrity, let me write some op-eds now, or hey, now I'm going to write a song about it. That's not the way it works, right? You have to be A, B, C, always be campaigning, not necessary for elections, but for the heart and soul of our freaking country. That's the mode that we're always on here at MeidasTouch Network. A, B, C, always be campaigning for the people. That's what you have to be doing here, and not just be like, oh, I guess there's an election. No, because then the American people were like, where were you? I didn't see you before. Now you're just showing up, George Clooney. Oh, now you're just showing up, this celebrity. Now you're just showing up. Oh, where were you when I was asking for help? Were you in your villas in freaking Lake Como, or is that where you were? Or were you with us on the front lines? And that's what needs to be done. Meanwhile, I tease this, and so I have to talk about it, and I'll throw it to you, Brett. Vladimir Putin has the Russia. I mean, there's really not much more to the story. They're showing naked photos of Melania, all over, and then they're laughing at her, and then they're mocking her, and then they're saying, "What does my body, my choice really mean in America?" After showing the nudes of Melania and then mocking Donald Trump and Melania. So anyway, I guess it was a long tease, but and then Don Jr. is showing these photos of Zelensky and mocking Zelensky and basically threatening Zelensky and Ukrainian lives. You're 38 days from losing your allowance. And just think about that. That's how the Trump administration handles foreign policy. You're 38 days from losing your allowance, Brett.
Yeah, well, we have the world's worst people in charge. We're going to be finding out more and more about other of the worst people who are going to be added to this administration. We are going to continue to report on everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, the very ugly. We will be reporting all of it here on the MeidasTouch Network. I want to thank everybody for sticking with us during these difficult times. I know sometimes these times are times where you want to turn off and say, "Ugh, I can't anymore. I give up." But I appreciate all you who are back in this fight. If you took a break, who are sticking this out, I know that I am fired up right now more than ever. And not that this really changes much, but I also want to emphasize that this truly was at the end of the day, a very close election. I mean, let's look at what Ezra Klein wrote today. He wrote the following. He said, Trump is on track for a smaller popular vote victory than Hillary Clinton won in 2016. Democrats have work to do. They need to build a coalition that's not always 2 points from losing to MAGA, but I don't see Republicans internalizing that this was a narrow victory. And I think that's incredibly true. And I think what we are seeing now is I think Republicans are getting a little cocky. I think Democrats are also viewing this as some sort of cataclysmic event that is unrecoverable. And I remember now all the elections that Democrats have lost in the past, where every single time it has been a world is ending. Democrats need to reinvent the wheel. They need to change everything if they're going to reach people. They're never going to get, any power again, blah, 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 blah. And I'll give you that this time is certainly different because we have somebody with authoritarian leanings, to say the least, in the White House. And we also have to see what happens in that regard and how the rest of our institutions hold to that. But I will say this, that pro-democracy was not rejected outright on election night. And in fact, oddly enough, Democrats made quite a few gains during election day and actually had a lot of successes where and I know this is a big if the election didn't go the way it was, I think everybody would be celebrating that as a massive success for Democrats and Democratic messaging and the ideals of the Democratic Party in general. I think when you look to even like Kentucky turning to a liberal majority court, I think that says, a whole lot. When you see Michigan, them nominating pro-democracy judges, when you see people like Alyssa Slotkin winning their races, when you see Ruben Gallego defeating Carrie Lake, you see that there is still a pretty big disgust at MAGA across the country. Now, somehow the voters have been able to separate that from the man himself who created all these monsters, right? They seem to separate that from Donald Trump. They view Trump as his own thing, and they view Carrie Lake as, I can't vote for that lady. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you know that she's like the female version of Donald Trump. I don't know how you split that ticket, but people do. And so it's going to be a whole new ball game in the future when, that's not the case. And so, I think we all just need to keep fighting every single day. We need to be aware of what's coming because we're not going to close our eyes to the reality of what's coming our way and the horrible stuff. I mean, I take Trump at his word and I take his acolytes at his word when they say they are going to do all these horrible things. But we're going to fight through it together as a community. We're going to do it. We're going to keep our heads down. We're just going to put in the work every single day. We are going to do our best to be leaders, and we are calling on all of you out there, and that includes all of you watching, all the leaders out there. Now is the time to make your voice heard. Now there is a vacuum out there, and people are craving leadership. People are craving somebody to explain what is the way forward. So if you are a politician, someone who wants to get into politics, someone who wants to get into community organizing, whatever it is, now is the time. Use this as a spark to ignite that in you and get out there and start spreading the message. Let's all get to work together. Jordy, final words.
Let's do this. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty! Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.